Hello lovers, welcome to the Butterfly Effect podcast hosted by myself, Lauren Amy. This is for those who are ready to take up space, who are living a soft life loudly and are ready to savor the sweetness in each moment. Here we're going to embrace transformation, the beauty of the in-between and the magic of becoming. So pull up a seat and listen in because life is delicious and it's about goddamn time we eat it up. Lovers, why do we deny ourselves so much pleasure and choose to instead keep ourselves somewhat starved? Buckle up, honeys, your gal is hungry. Hello, stunners, and welcome back to the Butterfly Effect podcast. We are continuing our deep dive into devotion. And this podcast is becoming a kind of like a beautiful accompaniment to our theme throughout practice, both online and in person. And I'm kind of enjoying that. I feel like this podcast is becoming, it's almost like it's continuing to shape shift. It's continuing to evolve a little bit. It's kind of like providing an extra little layer to our explorations, right? And I'm really enjoying that. I hope you are enjoying it as well, and I'm hoping that, you know, the messages through this podcast are still landing, even though you might not necessarily be practicing with me in person, but of course there is the online sphere as well. And on that, my 7 days of devotion series has officially kicked off over on Patreon, which is so exciting. I have literally poured so much of my soul into this beautiful container. So we have kicked off, well, I'm recording this on Monday, but we have kicked off with our devoted beginning and opening 40-minute practice where you get to have a good old wriggle and giggle, shiggle and shake, shimmy and shake is what I was meant to say. But yeah, it's a really beautiful opening practice that kind of sets the tone for the week. Now, bearing in mind that you guys are obviously hearing this on a Wednesday, so we'll be a few days in by now, but there is still time to join this online container, right? It is completely free for the 7 days from the 9th until the 15th of February, and after which you'll be able to then purchase it as a collection. So if you are enjoying this deep dive into devotion, right, and you want to put it more so into practice, then Patreon is exactly where it's at, okay? This is why I've created so many of these different strands. There's always ways in which you can practice with me. Not only can your ears soak up this deliciousness, but you can put it into your body, you can feed it out into your day, this glorious ripple effect. This is why this podcast is called the Butterfly Effect, right? Because there's so many ways these messages can ripple outwards to you, and isn't that just divine? Okay, honey, so this week with our theme of devotion, I want us to talk about treating ourselves as sacred. Now, I did touch upon this last week a little bit, but I want to, of course, dive into it even more. Treating ourselves like our most treasured, prized possession, like you are sacred, because in reality, you are your most prized possession to yourself. But we forget about that. We place so much more value or worth into perhaps the things we own, you know, whether it's your car, whether it's your home, or maybe it's smaller material items, okay? We place so much value and emphasis onto that, but actually we forget about this body, this vessel, our mind, okay? We place that like to the back burner. That is so far down the priority list, and I can't quite understand why. So, treating yourselves like your most treasured, prized possession, and there'll be moments where that becomes like a default kind of practice, but when you're starting out seeing yourself as sacred, right, it will most likely start in small, subtle ways, okay, before it becomes like this autonomous practice that we don't necessarily need to think about. I'm definitely not there yet. I'm still kind of working on making this that autonomous practice, but I want this idea to become something we do not only when we first wake up each morning, okay, and think about how we want to show up each day, but also how we tend to ourselves at the end of the day, okay? So that the full day, you are treating yourself like your most treasured, prized possession. And the way in which I want to encourage this week, honeys, is to shamelessly reach for the things that you enjoy, okay? We hold ourselves back so much. We wait. We wait for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, the perfect time of day, the perfect moment, and really that perfect moment doesn't exist, right? And there's a couple of small examples, and I'm purposely starting small because I'm going to think bigger a little bit later on, okay? But purposely starting small here. So this morning, for example, I was doing my little Monday morning pamper. I was thoroughly enjoying myself, okay? And I was looking through my bathroom cabinet, and I have so many really nice products, okay? Like body polish, or like really nice exfoliating scrub, and like I have so many of these products, right, that have been gifted me, like Christmas, birthdays, right? It's like I've gathered this collection, and I put them in this bathroom cabinet and think, oh, I'll use that when it's like the perfect time. I'll use this when I really fancy like a pamper, all right? Why am I denying myself a gorgeous pamper right now? Why is now not a good enough moment? And the reason I have so many of these items is because I'll wait and wait and wait for that perfect moment to arrive. And before I know it, another Christmas, another birthday has rolled around, and I'll receive more, which is obviously lovely. And I'm so thankful for that. But that collection is just building. And am I just like never going to use them? Are they just going to sit in that bathroom cabinet and never be used? No. This morning we changed all that. She had a delightful pamper. My skin has been scrubbed within an inch of its life. I feel like I'm glistening or shimmering, because I was like, why am I waiting? Why am I holding myself back and waiting for the perfect moment that actually does not exist? Why can't I let this moment right here, right now, simply be enough? Okay. Another way in which I want to explore this, right, is, the past week or maybe a couple of weeks, I've been feeling somewhat less confident in my body, okay? And that's fine. I think this is just a season that I'm in. We're obviously in winter, and I've been doing a lot more hibernating. I've probably been moving a little bit less. That is okay. And I'm absolutely not going to fall down that rabbit hole of berating myself for that. That is okay, right? But as a result, I've been feeling somewhat less confident in my body. And every morning when it comes to getting dressed, I've been getting really kind of frustrated with my wardrobe because nothing is inspiring. I don't feel good with what I'm wearing, and I don't feel as good in my body. So again, it's kind of like culminating in this somewhat lack in self-confidence. And again, that is all right? And I have this particular top that I just love to wear. It's nothing special, right? It's just a particular top that I feel good in. It feels good on my skin. It's ever so slightly different. I can get away with wearing it for yoga, because that's a tricky thing for me as well. My wardrobe always has to be somewhat catered to practice. I have to be able to move in it. And that somewhat limits me slightly. But yeah, this top is something I can get away with. It can be a going out top, it can be a yoga top, it can be many different things. But for some reason, I don't wear it often. And I think maybe one of the reasons because I don't want to tire it out. I don't want it to become another thing that I'm somewhat fatigued with. And I was like, you know what? Today's the day I'm going to put that top on. So I'm wearing this top right now, and I feel good. It's brought that little bit of spark back to life. Instead of waiting for the perfect day to wear this top, which, isn't, particularly special, I just feel really good in it. Why am I waiting to feel good? Why am I holding myself back on feeling good? Do you see where I'm going with this? These are just like small, subtle ways we can treat ourselves as sacred and show up for ourselves without it necessarily needing to be this grand gesture, but by simply no longer holding ourselves back, by simply no longer waiting to feel good, but shamelessly reaching for the things that make us feel good. And then this just goes to show like how much of a ripple effect this has had throughout my day already, okay? So it started when I was kind of ruffling through my bathroom cabinet, right? And I then went to have a bit of a pamper. Then it continued when I went into my wardrobe to then get dressed for the day. Then as I sat down to do my skincare routine, I know full well that I'm working from home the most of the day. There's nothing I need to be really dressing up for, but actually, what if I just dress up for myself a little bit? So she's got a little shimmer on her eyelids. I got a little sparkle going on. I've also just freshly dyed my hair, so I am feeling kind of vibrant and vivacious, So I'm not one for a lot of makeup, okay? And I actually kind of enjoy that about myself. But I have so many like gorgeous products that, again, I'll save for a special occasion, but who's to say that I can't just wear it on a normal Monday? You know what I mean? Who's to say that I can't be sparkling whilst I'm sitting at my desk typing away? You know, I want to sparkle 24/7. Why am I denying my own sparkle? Okay, less of that, please. And again, anyway, this continued. I started to do my hair, decided to curl my hair today. I always feel better when my hair's got a bit of a curl in it, okay? And this is just more and more evidence of me showing up for myself and tending to my body in a way that feels good. And I know it perhaps sounds, you know, kind of materialistic and vain. I'm talking about makeup, hair and clothing, right? Classic girl chat, right? But I am a girl and I love my girly things, all right? So why am I denying myself the enjoyment of these simple girly things, all right? That they just make me feel good, and then I can carry that into the rest of my day. I can carry this into this podcast right now that I'm literally sitting and recording right now, giving myself that permission and then giving you that permission to reach for enjoyment, to reach for what feels pleasurable, okay? And I love that word pleasure. It's another delicious sounding word that sounds somewhat sexy, right? However you decide to pleasure yourself today, honeys, I'm all for it. It's entirely up to you. But it's kind of this feeling, you know, when you, I'm laughing at what I'm about to say, but you know when you wear like a real nice set of lingerie under your normal clothing that no one else knows about, just you and your bedroom mirror, only you know, and it just gives you that little like, I don't know, tickle of satisfaction, this little like tingle of pleasure. You know, that is the feeling I'm describing. You know what? I really want to buy myself like the sexiest pajama set. Not for anyone else, but just for me. Is that not the most delightful thing? That's going to be a glorious day for myself. So yes, that's the feeling that we're trying to slowly cultivate here by treating yourself as your most treasured, prized possession, dressing yourself that way, tending to yourself that way, and then acting in that way as you then continue throughout the rest of your day, right? And it's up to you, however you decide to do it, whether you do decide to wear that, I don't know, sexy underwear when you're just spending a day at the office, or whether you decide to have a really indulgent pamper session and use those products that you've been just storing and been collecting dust, however you decide to do it, this just goes to show that you can treat yourself as sacred in these small, subtle ways. It doesn't need to be this extravagant, grand gesture, okay? But I do want to get into what those grand gestures could look like, because as with anything, when we're kind of shifting our mindset with anything or trying to change or create some healthy habits, starting small is the best way forwards, right? So after we've started small and giving ourselves these little kind of tickles of inspiration, all right, let's now look at the bigger picture. How can treating ourselves as sacred work in the grander scheme? And not only is it treating yourself as sacred, but it's actually trusting yourself enough, being devoted to yourself enough to take a chance on yourself, to place bets on yourself, to do the thing that you know that you really want to do, all right? I've been thinking about this a lot recently, and I'm actually going to go back to a recent cacao ceremony that happened, like a couple of weeks ago. And I didn't bring it up on the podcast. I was kind of just letting the ideas kind of ruminate further, right? And every cacao ceremony is so different, and I love it for that. This cacao ceremony is probably the first time that I came out of the meditation feeling somewhat grumpy and actually a bit pissed off. It was quite entertaining. But anyway, the two cards that I pulled at the beginning of this cacao ceremony were fighting and comparison. And if you've been to one of our cacao ceremonies before, you'll know that Bex always does like a little introduction as to what that card might mean to make it so it hopefully resonates with you a little bit further. And as I pulled out these two cards, I was a bit like, for goodness sake, why can I never get like a nice card? These cards are always so brutal to me. But I was already starting to kind of reframe it in my head, fighting and comparison. Comparison, that's kind of obvious, right? It's to stop comparing myself, to see myself as sacred and actually to see myself as unique, and therefore stay true to myself and who I am and what I'm passionate about and what I care about, what I'm destined to do, okay? Because comparison is literally such a waste of time, okay? Because you are on your own timeline, not someone else's, right? And then when we look at the fighting card, quite simply that is to stop fighting myself and to realize, what is it that I'm actually fighting for? And the image of the card is this, I think it's this knight wearing, this plated armor, but that plated armor is covered in all these self-destruct buttons. And it's almost like if anyone comes near, or if anyone gets too close, if anyone touches them, I lose myself straight away. So it's like, why am I fighting myself? Why am I not trusting myself? And I think one of the reasons I was somewhat grumpy in this cacao ceremony because it was delivering me exactly what I needed to hear, not necessarily I wanted to hear. These cacao ceremonies, they can be somewhat feisty in that they don't hold back, okay? I have known within myself that I have been comparing, I've been fighting myself, and as much as I preach, confidence and being courageous and reaching for the things that you are worthy of, I am still in some ways holding myself back on that. I am still in some ways not trusting myself enough to take a chance on myself. And that is exactly what that cacao ceremony had to say to me a few weeks ago. And I think when it then came to this theme of devotion and being devoted to the things that really matter and being devoted to what it is that I want to reach for, what it is that I want to create, it's actually really brought to the surface that there's still many ways in which that I'm holding myself back. And it's like, God damn. It's like you're seeing your own hang-ups and your own, I don't want to say flaws, but it's somewhat confronting. But it's kind of confronting in the best way, not necessarily the nicest way, but the best way. So in this quest to see yourself as sacred, not only can we be doing these small, subtle ways of tending to the body in this real kind of like nourishing way, but be willing to take a chance on yourself and stop fighting yourself, stop waiting, stop holding back, okay? And again, I'm going to offer an example that's literally happened this morning in real time. One of the things I hope to do this year is to expand my practice and expand my offerings by finally trusting myself enough to offer something that I know I could do so well. And I'm going to be a bit vague on this, sorry guys, but it's something that I know I would do so well, and I can see it so clearly being so amazing and so fulfilling, but I'm lacking just that final nugget of trust, okay? And so one of the ways that I'm trying to build that trust within myself, and again, the only way you build trust in yourself is to give yourself further evidence that you can act upon the things that you're wishing for, by pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, by demonstrating that you're not just wishing for these things, you are actively reaching for them, right? So with this hope to kind of expand my practice, I want to be able to practice it more. Okay, I want to hone my practice more before I then offer it out to other people, okay? But the thing that I want to offer doesn't exist around where I currently live, okay? There's no one else offering this. So I'm going to have to look further afield, which probably means having to go into London. That is so fine. Happy to do that. I've been part of this WhatsApp group for a long ass time where they occasionally share workshops, classes to do with what it is that I'm hoping to do. And I have existed in that WhatsApp group as a silent member for probably about a year. God, it actually might even be like a year and a half, maybe even 2 years. Yikes, I'm really exposing myself here. But this is what I mean. This is how I've been waiting and holding myself back. And I'm doing my best to back myself here. I'm doing my best to take a chance on myself here. So this morning, when I was having all these thoughts land, and I knew I was going to sit down and record this podcast, okay, I was like, right, if I'm going to encourage others to treat themselves as their most prized possession and see themselves as sacred and encourage them to take a chance on themselves, I need to be actively doing that also. So I put my big girl pants on. I decided to message this WhatsApp group and ask, does anyone know of any workshops, any classes happening on a Saturday where I can go into London and participate? And literally within seconds, I got a response. And that response included a link, a full description of the workshop, and this person has also kindly offered a discount. So it's like, I've been delivered. I've literally, on a plate, been delivered exactly what I'm asking for. Now I just need to take it. I just need to reach out and take it. And my hand is like tentatively reaching forwards. I've got the web page open on my phone. I literally just need to press book. It's now up to me. I've been handed exactly what I'm hoping for. I just need to take it. I need to trust myself enough. I need to show that I trust myself enough. I need to act. I need to not just put myself out there in words. I need to do so in action also. And don't get me wrong, it is scary. I am somewhat nervous. But I also have this feeling, and I think I've spoken about this a couple of times, I have this feeling of like this nervous excitement when I know I'm about to do something great. You know, when I know I'm about to show up for myself in a way that I haven't done before. So I'm saying this on the podcast now, so I'm keeping myself accountable. As soon as I stop recording this, I'm going to go and book this workshop. Okay, I'm going to go for it. And I will report back a little later. But the reason I want to bring this up, honeys, is because seeing yourself as your most treasured, prized possession, all right, and seeing yourself as sacred, it can begin in these small, subtle gestures. And it's perhaps the thing that lies in between you and achieving whatever it is that you wish to achieve this year. Okay, we're still at the beginning of the year. We're just entering into February, right? There's still these intentions and maybe there's resolutions, whatever you set, or perhaps you're still kind of analyzing your vision board, right? There's still these ideas floating around. Perhaps it's seeing yourself as sacred and trusting yourself enough to take this conscious action. That is what lies between you and whatever it is that you're hoping to achieve this year. And I hope this kind of stands out as an example of like, you know, devotion is not just self-love. It's not just having a nice bubble bath at the end of the day. Lovely, that's cute. If you want to do that too, cool. It's trusting and loving yourself enough to take those conscious steps and show up for yourself in a way that you haven't done so before. And maybe this is stirring up musings for yourself. Maybe this is somewhat confronting in a way, like that cacao ceremony was for me. Have you been fighting yourself? Okay. Have you been holding yourself back? Have you been waiting? Okay. Or perhaps we can start loving and devoting to ourselves enough so that we can shamelessly reach for these things and stop waiting, stop holding ourselves back. If you are just as hungry as I am, if you are just as hungry for more and you can see so clearly the life that you want to be living and the person that you want to be, stop denying yourself that nourishment, that pleasure, that enjoyment. Reach for it. It's in your power. It's in your control. Reach for it. Oh my goodness. All right, lovers, I hope you enjoyed this latest discussion on our deep dive into devotion. Let this be the perfect moment, right? No more waiting. No more holding yourself back, trusting yourself enough, loving yourself enough, letting this moment right here be enough to see yourself as sacred, to see yourself as your most treasured, prized possessions. Oh, you got this, honeys. I love you. Go thrive, go live that delicious, beautiful life, and I shall see you next week for our next episode. Mwah! right, Stanners, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Butterfly Effect podcast. I hope it has left you feeling suitably inspired. And as always, please don't forget to rate and review, like and subscribe, all those lovely things, as not only does this help the podcast grow, but it also helps us to reach more beautiful souls who need to hear these conversations. And of course, come hang out with me over on Instagram and TikTok at LaurenAmyYD, and follow the pod at butterflyeffect.pod. You can also dive deeper into yoga, meditations, poetry, and so much more with me over on Patreon. Until next time, keep living a soft life loudly because you know you deserve it, and I'll see you in the next episode. Mwah!